Why people break up and why they come back. Today in this video we're going to talk about the psychology of breakup and how people who decide to end relationship make their decisions, how they change their mind, because very often when we do the right things, when what you had was strong enough, people might change their mind, and you could be in that situation where you feel it's hopeless, you feel I've tried everything, you feel, it's so unfair because we had something special, yet he or she is very stubborn. They don't want to change their mind. They don't see that we can be happy together. I'm going to explain you in this video the psychology of what's going on potentially in your ex's mind and give you some answers and some practical tips for you to move forward. Jingle.
IGetMyExBack.com. Everyone deserves a second chance.
First of all, let's deep dive into the decision process of your partner. You have to understand that it took probably months for your partner to take the decision to break up with you. The fact that it took them months doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best decision for them. But from their point of view, they've assessed over a long period of time. And so they are thinking rationally about the decision because it took a while. Our job is to prove them wrong, okay? And your job is to prove that a very long thinking process where they had this inner debate. And usually when you debate with yourself, you're always right. That's the problem. That's the thing we have to fight. This sort of reflection that took months. It's really hard to unpack. It's really hard to change someone's mind when they took a decision after months of reflection. It's not impossible, and that's why I'm making this video. If you do the right thing, it's actually very likely that you can get back with them. So what's leading to the decision of the breakup? You have the loss of attraction, I've lost feelings for that person, lack of communication, which is if you look at studies, the first reason people divorce, too many arguments, keep on disagreeing on stuff, infidelity, which is obviously a big one, jealousy. All of these ones are outcomes. They come after the true nature of the reason they broke up with you. We lose attraction with our partner because at some stage in the relationship, we were not able to express things. We were not able to be in tune with our partner. The lack of communication, it's always, I think, it's a typical one where people we broke up, we divorced because we couldn't really communicate, the lack of communication. But that comes after, why? Why was it so hard for you to communicate? There were things from your experiences from your childhood, from your different traumas and insecurities that prevented you from communicating properly. So of course, relationship therapists like myself, we're really into teaching people how to use effective communication, non-violent principles, and so on and so forth, which can really change the dynamic of a relationship. Also, it's very important, and I think a lot of people would benefit from having some sort of prompts when they discuss with their partner, because spending 24/7 of your time with someone doesn't necessarily mean you connect at a deeper level. Sharing a bed is not necessarily being with someone if you don't have the ability to connect with that person at a deeper level. So these are really outcomes. And sometimes people, when they try to get back with their ex, they'll try to address those outcomes. We'll have to deep dive a little bit deeper. Quick note, obviously, the lack of compatibility, the lack of emotional connection. When the relationship is abusive, reflect properly. If you feel you're not sure, if you feel potentially the case, getting back with the person, if that was the case, is not the right solution, and you'll be better off single. Abusive relationship obviously is very simple to understand, but try also to assess, when you reflect on the relationship, whether you guys were compatible, whether you guys had the same values, the same lifestyle, the same vision. And if you had like some sort of, sometimes we are in love with someone and it happened to me, or madly in love with someone, but it's not the same with the person you date. Okay, so really assess this, because in those cases you can work as much as you can. I don't think getting back with that person is the right decision for you. So the process leading to the decision. So you have different sort of events, triggering events, life events. One is traveling to another country for work. Could be, a new job, or maybe your partner lost his job, you lost your job. Maybe one of your parents is ill and you have to take look after them, or the same for your partner. You have unconscious trigger. So the ones that we discussed a lot in this channel around attachment style, any type of fear. Sometimes people don't understand that fear is a bigger driver than love when it comes to relationship and when it comes to any sort of decision in our lives. Disappointment. They had high expectations from the relationship, from you, and they got disappointed. And the repetition. So what builds resentment is that some sort of little disappointments that compound over time. So the lack of communication, intimacy, and all of the above that you repeat. So very often you see and you look back, there wasn't any like major events. But every single day we failed to connect. We didn't hug, or were not intimate anymore. We didn't have any affectionate words to each other. And every single day it's getting worse. And that's the power and the curse of compound interest in that case. Now we have two brains. If you don't know this book, I would highly recommend it if you're interested in non-fiction books. This one is from the Nobel Prize, Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow. It's fascinating because he's using neuroscientific studies, explaining it in a very simple ways, but applying it to behavioral economics, which is very interesting. The idea is that we have two brains. We have the analytical one, the advanced one, which is the one able to process concepts. For example, like money. No other animals on the planet can understand what money is. It's an abstract concept where we'll agree that a note of 20 pounds is 20 pounds, is not $20, and we can buy things and so on and so forth. It's the type of the brain that could anticipate and plan, etc., etc. This part of the brain is actually quite a slow-moving process. The fast part of our brain is, people, when you study hypnotherapy, what we would call the unconscious part of the brain, the things that we are struggling to control. This one is really fast. It's the primitive part of our brain. It's the one dealing with both all our regulatory systems like breathing, digestion, but also the fears, also the habits. Anything that you do without thinking is from the unconscious part of the brain. So Daniel Kahneman referred them to System 1, System 2. And you have to understand that the problem is System 1, which is the primitive part of the brain, is way, way, way more powerful than the System 2. And it's also dealing with way more information than your System 2. And in this book, he explains that we have what we call we are prone to a lot of cognitive biases. And I want to introduce one to you today in this video, is the confirmation bias, where we have the idea when we feel that, okay, I'm losing attraction, I'm losing feelings for that person, or I see things differently, we start to label our partners. And we think he's selfish, she's too clingy. And anytime we see information, we have sort of, we see your behavior, we interact with you, and we notice that this, what you're doing, what you're saying, confirms that initial idea, they're gonna have this biases of like only looking and selecting information to really reinforce their assumption initially. Okay, so they assume like you're too clingy, or I'm not good enough for you. If you're dating an avoidant, people with avoidant attachment style will say things like, you're too good for me. I can't love you as much as you do. It's hard for me. And so they will have these sort of instances where they see like, oh, he or she's really investing and I can't do it. And then only focus on that. They forget any time when you're acting independently, you're having your own life, you're communicating effectively. The problem is that as we are not perfect, of course, your partner will always see if they decide unconsciously to only select the piece of information confirming their assumption, right? So it's very important for you to understand this concept, and that's why no contact in that sense is quite helpful, because it creates a gap where they stop analyzing and seeing everything that you do and analyzing things. If they have no data, they can't really cherry pick the data. It's emotional and unconscious. So love is an emotion, and your ex's reaction is emotional. And this is why sometimes you might get mixed signals. This is why you might think, they might hear something like, I don't know why, but we need to break up. I love you, but it's not working. You always have this uncertainty. They have usually, most of my clients, their partner was in love with them when they broke up. And in those cases, it's just about shifting how you communicate with them, also working at being more secure. Because when, I can't make your ex fall in love with you. But the thing is, you have to understand that if you had something special, your ex potentially should have still feelings. It's very rare for people to forget about an ex, forget about a partner when you have something special. So that's why sometimes it doesn't make sense to you, because how can be in love with me, how can they have feelings for me and reject me and ghost me and not, take any sort of time to, discuss with me, to explain things? It's because they are confused. The same way you are confused, they are confused, and they don't necessarily know why they're making that decision. They know they're hurting you, they know they're suffering as well, they know there's a fear, or potentially they don't even know that they are scared of something. If they're avoidant, for example, they might have a deep fear of commitment, which is very, very sort of buried inside them, and they don't know why. Anytime you ask them to, live together or meet your parents, they freak out. They don't necessarily know. They don't have the ability to label and reflect on those. But how do we convince them once we have that? The thing is, you don't. And that's why most people struggle getting back with their exes. Most people who don't watch my videos. Because the thing is, if you start, or if you're in like a salesperson mode trying to convince someone, they will always push back. Again, we are talking about someone who convinced themselves with that internal debate, where obviously when you debate with yourself, you're always right. And having someone to tell them like, you're wrong, having someone telling them, I know what's best for you and it's to get back with me, it's very, very, very difficult for them to accept. It's very, very, very difficult for them to listen, to be open to the idea. And so when someone feels it's not right, you can't really argue, right? How can you, who could be able to tell them like, no, you should feel this way? It's their own right to feel a certain way. Of course, they have to unpack those things and they have to understand why they feel this way. But it's not your role, it's not my role, it's not anyone's role to tell them how they should feel. And so that change in perception needs to come from them. And of course, your job is to influence that. Of course, you have to do something. You can influence that. The same way you sort of influence them to break up with you, because you have a role of responsibility in the breakup and they have a role as well. You can use the same exact mechanism in your favor. So first, as I discussed, I think it's very important to reset things. They are in this confirmation mode where anything that you do, they will only pick the 5% that will confirm their assumption about you. When you go no contact, they can't, continue this process. Now it's really about how you can make constant actions to change their perception. What will happen is that after a phase of no contact, they will be interested, they will be curious, there'll be a lot of mystery about what you're up to, and they would want to, at some stage, they will be assessing where you're at. The thing is, they will assess, and one piece of information is not enough. That's why consistency is really key if you want to get back together. That's why coaching works really well, because when you work with someone who has another pair of eyes, we can help you sort of be consistent in your actions, be consistent in your words. So time is in your favor if you do the right thing, and reality as well. Your reality, the work you're doing, how you communicate with your ex, how you behave, the life you're creating. So don't give up if you're doing the right things, and if you have the strength to be more secure and every single day to be sort of going in the right direction, your ex will see it, your ex will finally change their mind. Any question, anything you want to ask me, you have some links in the description to get in touch with us. And also you can comment and like the video. I'll see you next time. Bye.
For a long time, get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer.